So a little bit about me. I earn my living and pay my mortgage working for a small nonprofit in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I spent all my spare time volunteering for one of the largest for-profit companies in the world. And so this is my little secret. Everybody is up here just crushing it. Man, I just wish I could have the inspiration that, or have the abilities that everybody else is up here. My little secret, just for you, is that I'm kind of bad at this stuff. I forget everybody's name. I procrastinate until the last minute. These slides are an example. I was telling Kubra just a couple minutes ago, like, could you update these real quick? So they may or may not be exactly what I want them to be. But the trick to that is no one cares. Right? This is our group. We're the Google Developer Group Twin Cities. We've been doing this for a while, and I think we're kind of doing something right. We've had 135 meetups at our group. We've run 6 Dev Fests. We've got a great group that's organizing, and I have good visibility, I think, in our area. So as I learned from last week, I'm going to tell this. No, this is just this. I stole that slide. That was my joke. So as I've been doing this for a while, you know, one thing you hear when people are just starting up their groups, they feel like, boy, this is hard. When is Google going to send some awesome speaker to my group? Because I really want people to have some visibility. Providing content for your group is hard, and Googlers travel and talk all the time. Why won't they come to my area? So back in my day, when I started organizing, there was no funding. The Google Developer Group was a 20% project for one employee, and so there really was no support. I think we ran our group for about 5 years. And Google never paid for pizza. We kind of built up our momentum with a big thumbs up from Google. We would say, oh, you know, we want to do this thing. And they'd say, yeah, do it. And I think that really set our group up well for understanding that there's a lot of resources in your area that you want to be able to find and you want to be able to reach out to. And that's really where the strength and the power comes from. For running your Google Developer Group. So, which kind of brings up this question, what's the point of your group? From a high level, what's the point of having your group? Is it for community building? Is it for education, kind of sharing new content and learning about new content? Is it for finding career opportunities that are in your area? Is it for self-promotion? I put that on there a little bit joking, but not. I think there's good value in visibility and getting yourself out there. There's no shame in doing something great for the community that also raises your name. Is it for the swag? I mean, swag's awesome, right? Or basking in the warm glow of the Googlers that may or may not be involved? Is it for finding peers? This one I tossed on there. This is personal for me. I have a ton of autonomy in my work. I get to decide what technology I want to implement. I have kind of free range with my budget, but I don't have many peers. And so this Google Developer Group really fills that. I have an opportunity to visit and meet with really awesome people in my area and be inspired by the work that they're doing. And when I come up with something in my work that I'm doing, I now have a broader reach of people that I can reach out to. And this is all really I'm asking from your point of view. As an organizer, what kind of to do some self-reflection, what is the thing that you're looking for? And this is to figure out what works for you. Because you're never going to nail the event that's perfect for everybody, when to meet, what the topic is, what sort of pizza to order. And then often as we're talking with new organizers and we're planning events, people say, well, you know, Google said we need to do this. We need to run the study jam in this particular window. Or we need to have some metric. We need to have some percentage of something. Or it has to be, we have to do this workshop because that's what Google said we do. And the real secret is that, and this is all my interpretation, this is not Google's opinion, to be clear, but it's you. It's really kind of providing opportunities for you to find something that's successful and build on that, and that's going to grow the energy and momentum within your area. And I think that's really the power that comes from what we do. So this is, Naveem said this yesterday, and it really, I thought it was worth calling out, because this is not just lip service. This really is I think the spirit of what the Google groups are, finding what works well for your community, and you as an organizer, starting with what can you sustain and what can you support, allows you to put forward a really great opportunity. So I know you all paid really good money to come here and learn about how to get speakers and sponsors. So the real secret is it's all about alignment. And that means finding somebody whose interests align with your group's interests and being able to merge those together. Now, I don't mean alignment like you 20D folks are talking about. So really, it is thinking from a big picture, how do we find people who are interested in the topic that might be interesting and provide them with an opportunity to make that interesting for them. So I've talked about this over time as a mentor, back in the olden days when I was a mentor. And really, it's kind of 3 core things, and there's all the extra stuff you put on top. It's kind of extra stuff. The swag, the different things. You really need a speaker and a topic, a place to host them, and then put a date on the calendar. And from there, now you can start to build momentum. So finding a speaker, right? Oh, that sounds easy. So what are different ways that you can find a speaker? One is to work your network. I did that for this talk. I emailed a number of people who are organizers and said, hey, what are some things that I should add this as we're talking about how do you find good speakers for your group? So you can think of your coworkers, you think of other people that you've been at meetups with. That's a good way to network, is to go to other meetups in your area. And also remember that your friends and coworkers are busy, so not everyone's going to reply to you. Dan. But yeah, I know, right? Some people are busy. Yep. So all right, I had to get my public ribbing in now that Dan's here. So of course, there's your network, but this is also an opportunity to grow your network. LinkedIn is a great resource for this. If you search LinkedIn, it's hard to just say Google within, it's like searching for Google topics in the Google search bar. It doesn't always work, but if you think of cloud or you search for other topics that might be applicable, you can usually find some people locally who are on LinkedIn. You're going to get a lot lower return of responses on that, but we found some great speakers just by kind of reaching out saying, hey, we're looking for somebody who might be interested in giving a talk, either on something that you are an expert on or are just learning about. And I think that for me, this is every meetup we give this plug. And I really like to lean in on that and say, please, if you feel like you're not an expert, that's the best time to give a talk. As you're just learning about some topic, and you've got that kind of excitement about, wow, this thing could be really cool, and you're learning about it. That space right there, I think, gives some of the best community-sourced topics, because you've still got that energy and that excitement, and you can preface it all with saying, I'm certainly not an expert. Hopefully somebody in the room is an expert and correct me when I'm wrong, but here's what I've learned so far. I think those sorts of talks are really the sweet spot, and those are some of the ones that I love. So this goes to why would they speak? And this is, again, from the empathy point of view, thinking about from their perspective, why might they speak? Are they somebody who's kind of new in the field and they want to raise their visibility? A number of these are suggestions that the group, the other GDG organizers suggested. So if you know people in your company who have a work goal of doing some public speaking, or a personal goal, this is a great opportunity to try and interest them. Maybe they're interested in a certain topic, and they're this is again that just learning something. There is so much content now provided to our GDG groups of kind of a workshop in a box that if somebody is a little bit interested, and my favorite person to get to talk is someone who comes up and says, you know, boy, it'd be really great if we had like a 2.5-hour workshop on Kubernetes. And we're like, you know what? Great. Are you free next month? Because we'll have you run that. Because all the content is pretty much there. It gives them an opportunity to learn about it beforehand and provide an opportunity for the rest of the community to come along and join them in that learning process. Maybe somebody's just really excited in a topic. Again, somebody who's committed to the community. One of my favorite also is, you know, if you can find somebody who has the heart of a teacher, I think we're really fortunate. I'm going to also call out Patrick Fuentes as somebody who has the heart of a teacher. If you can find someone who really is passionate about being invested in people who are gathered in a room to grow well through a process, I think that lean into those folks as much as they're able. The other option that people suggested, which we definitely ran our meetup for years, finding a speaker as just kind of rotating through the organizers. You've already got people who've stepped up saying they're willing to help make these events be successful. There's good content. So, and we've all now been trained in public speaking. You all can vary your volume really well and gesticulate as much as necessary. So we're going to do that. But, you know, we've got this great content. So the other thing, of course, I've talked about, finding other meetups in the area. Jay had said, you know, sometimes it comes down to just brute force and cold calling. So that's kind of that meetup area, and just reaching out to companies saying, you know, we've got these topics. We'd love to support somebody in your organization to come give a talk. And the other one, which is great, I know Cheetah's been having excellent success, is just kind of watching the presentations or why am I? Anyway, the events that are in town, maybe bigger events that you have paying speakers, and look for the keynote or other people in that and see, do they have some affiliation either with Google or with a googly topic, and reach out to them and say, hey, as long as you're in town, how about the night before you give a presentation to our meetup? And usually they've already got their talks ready to go, or they might have a backlog of other talks that they could do. So that's worked well for our group, and I know it's worked well for others as well. So step 2, finding a place. How do you get somebody to sponsor you either in a venue or money for food? You know, of course, a really swanky, shiny building is really great. I got to say, a nice casual meetup at a coffee shop with no overhead for your group is also really nice. This depends on scale. This depends where you're at. But don't discount that. Don't feel like you need to have the fanciest company in town to sponsor your meetup before you have a meetup. Breweries work well? Yeah. Yeah. So now as you approach somebody who might be willing to sponsor their space, why, again, this is from their perspective. Why would they want to host? Well, this was definitely going to raise their visibility. It's going to mark them as somebody who's invested in the community, willing to volunteer their space. They're also going to have to have an employee. Likely they're going to have an employee stay after hours. So it's not a nothing ask if you ask to host your meetup there after hours. So understand that you are asking a little something from them. Maybe they're looking to hire new employees, so this will raise their visibility for that. I know there's a lot of discussion. People have different feelings about whether companies get to pitch their company at your meetup. There's a bad feeling about that. Personally, I've approached that with open arms, but with an eye towards it. You don't want it to be give you kind of that icky feeling. And And it has never been a problem for us. We like to start our meetups thanking our sponsors, thanking our event hosts, and giving them opportunity to talk about what it is their company do. We also take a poll at the beginning of every meetup and say, who's new? And it surprises me that usually over half the room have never been to a meetup before. I lost this monitor. All right. Oh, I also put on here, can I go back? Well, what I was just going to call out was that often in a pitch, what I use when I'm talking to sponsors is that these people that are showing up at your meetup, they're taking their precious spare time. They're already a self-selecting group of go-getters who are taking their spare time to show up an event after hours and learn about something new, to meet people in the community, to learn about a new topic. These are the sort of people that you might want to know about your company. Cheetah made a good point of it's good to put together a value proposition. What is the value to this company that is your sponsor? And he's even gone so far as putting together kind of a document that you can share with potential sponsors, saying, here's really what you're going to get out of it. Now, this also scales up to a really big event if you're asking for a sponsor at a Dev Fest. A couple of things there, what is a Dev Fest? We all deeply, of course, know what a Dev Fest means, but companies around town don't necessarily know the definition of Dev Fest, so give a short little explanation of what that means. You can talk about its global reach. You can talk about the impact that if this is your first Dev Fest, you can talk about what you hope it to be. If you've done it before, kind of provide some metrics. I know our Dev Fest, all of the sponsors have had excellent rate of hiring people out of people who've attended that to have that visibility. And GDG, of course, we all know deeply what GDG is, but it's another phrase that you might need to explain. All right, so step 3, offering food or swag or otherwise kind of trying to entice, boy, no one's showing up. Maybe if we offer better swag or food or really good beer at our venues. And I get it, right? Hospitality often involves food. This is part of our culture. It is a great thing to be able to do. Casual camaraderie often involves beer, also as part of our community. But a really good conversation, a really good educational experience doesn't need either. And I would say, don't jeopardize the idea of offering a chance for your community to meet each other and learn something new because your sponsor might not be able to, your venue sponsor might not be able to offer food. Or if they don't, we have a number of sponsors who, for legal reasons, don't offer alcohol to community events. Great. That's not a problem. So how do you... All right, so again, big picture. What makes a great meetup? You need a speaker, you need a location and a time. Post that as early as you can. On Meetup, a sweet spot is about a month. And so I would say then you start to build on your success. Be flexible in those dates. Announce early. Keep that momentum. Find a time regularly that works for you. That's worked for us. I've talked to a couple other organizers who don't want to be tied down to a single time of the month. They kind of go as speakers are available, and that works really well for them. Finding speakers from your group is really where you're going to start to find traction, I think. Ask every time. Talk about the workshops in a box that are available. And again, food is optional. We've had a couple sponsors say, we love hosting you all. We love having you all as part of this, but our marketing budget is kind of tight this quarter. Is there anything we can do to reduce? And every time I've said, we don't need food. Let's just, there's a number of places nearby. We can start a little bit later if people want to grab food beforehand or have them bring it. And usually they've found some budget to be able to have some pizzas or a really nice buffet, whatever works. But the core value is some nice content, being able to meet your speakers, and having your event. So this is kind of my thought. It's kind of the point of your group. The point of our group for me, I don't want to presume, but is to help learn about the wealth of awesome people in your community and giving you an opportunity to find them and giving them a chance to learn more about topics that they're interested in and get them involved as well in the community. So that's what I have for these parts. Are there any questions? We've got a little bit of time. There's too much light there. Yeah, yes, sir, in the front row.
Just want to let you know you have email.
Oh, good. Hey, Cooper, I need to update these slides.
Also, just I guess one thing to add, if you don't mind me adding.
Please.
Since I didn't email you in time. When I ran a smaller meetup, introductions in the beginning between all your members, finding out what they do for a living and who they are helps build that socializing and let you know who to target if you want a topic.
Yeah,
So
that's a great suggestion.
there's a thought.
There's a
The
good
bigger
thought.
ones, you can't really do that every meetup. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, at a certain point, and there's things that'll shift as your meetups change size. We definitely would, kind of at the earlier point, we would do our introductions, kind of go around the room, and then also give an opportunity for if anybody is looking for work, do you want to stand up and say something about yourself? Or if anybody in the room is hiring, do you want to stand up and say something about yourself? And that worked great. It also allowed for some exchange of visibility there. Once you've got 100 or so people in the room, it doesn't work as well to provide that. But yeah.
All right. First of all, thank you for the great talk.
Sure.
So my question is actually related to your experience running at GDG for several years. Have you tried to run any project nights or hack nights? And if so, how has the experience been or the format that you found that works?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's part of experimenting with your group and finding what does work. We've had a couple workshop nights, like the hands-on workshops. And those, for our group, those are fantastic. We have a lot of traction with that. People stay through the whole time. There might be a different amount of visibility. And I think, as I've said, the key part to making that work well is finding someone who wants to run that. And support them in putting it together and getting space and the resources that are necessary with that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I got one.
Oh, good.
So I think it was 135 events.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the best event and what made it that? I'd like what were the elements that made it the best event in your mind? What was the most memorable one?
That's great.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, right? Boy, I think that would be interesting from a community's point of view as to what was the most successful from the community's perspective. For me, one that I think back to the most was one of our first International Women's Day, where we invited a lot of the organizers of the different women in tech groups in town. And there's one piece from that has just stuck on my mental bulletin board, which is, she said, stop inviting us to come talk at your group because you need women to talk at your group. And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? And this is, again, from that person's perspective. They're highly visible, they're very active, and talk about no spare time. The amount of effort that these groups are doing in our community, and they're fantastic. And so that has helped me think about, or that's a filter that I put on each kind of event that we do or outreach that we try and do to think, how do we help boost their group or the efforts that are happening there in a way that really is going to kind of raise the water level for everybody. Cool. for the point of that. So that was from my perspective. You know, our dev fests are great. They're just such good, high energy. Having 500 people at an event is really hard to beat the high from that. And the burnout, don't ever talk to me for the week after. I'll tell you what. So,
Thank you.
thanks, Don.
Hello, I would also like to thank you for a great talk.
Thank
And
you.
even more so, I would like to thank you for the ride home from that little dive bar last
Absolutely,
night.
yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been stuck there with this guy, with Joel. But, okay, on to the question. You have said that food is not really necessary. I take it you have had success with some meetups that did not serve food.
Absolutely.
Okay. My partner ran Society of Women Engineers in our area. When I first started doing meetups without food, she looked at me and said, "You're out of your mind. You are never going to get people to show up at 6 o'clock on a Thursday if you don't feed them." So, I mean, how did you have success without food? I would like to know, so maybe I can emulate that.
Yeah, that is a tough one, right? If you're going to have it right at dinner time and expect people to come from work to your venue and not have food, that's a tough spot to be in. We've had, and this, it worked better when it was a smaller group. And a couple times then I've kind of taken pre-orders, like, all right, I'm going to stop by the sandwich shop. Who wants a sandwich? You know, if you can throw me $5, that'd be great. And that worked well. Otherwise, we'll shift the time or try and host, you know, having it at a coffee shop or having it at a bar that's not too loud and that also serves good food and is not just a bar about, you know, with throbbing music in the background and people getting enjoying their evening. So because it's hard to talk, it's hard to exchange ideas when that's the case.
Can I add something? You can also tag which meetups will have food and which will not, so people can eat and prepare.
Yeah.
And for us, it's worked well when we don't have sponsorship. People know. Yes. On Meetup, you just specify in the description.
Yeah, and that, you know, there's this whole bunch of good advice about running a good meetup, and one that I kind of breezed over is being very clear about your agenda and calling out things like that. All right,
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Do we have, yeah.
So I have one question, like me and my co-organizer were new to the community. So every time an organizer slide or something is sent to us, we would host the event, like the Cloud I.O. or anything. So I'll prepare for the slide and we'll try to host it. But some of the questions would come on a particular topic and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. Let's Google it up together. So do you still suggest me to have those preparation going on by myself, do it myself, or call an expert to do it, or? Because every time there is a different topic, like cloud, Google Assistant, or every time. So every time I go through that, I need to prepare myself. But I don't go deep into it. So.
Right.
So.
I'm a big fan of playing that role. I often, you know, a number of those 135 meetups were me saying, this is really cool. I'm just learning about it. And here's what we know. We've got this workshop that we can run through. So I think if you're clear about that, you're not misrepresenting, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, it's great to find somebody in the audience who might know more and invite them up or give them more kind of stage presence or authority for the topic. Yeah, I had, well, no, so I'm all for it. I say go for it. There was, short story, there's one tech event in town that like 3,000 people show up, and it's an unconference, so there's all these various things, and one of the topics a couple years ago was machine learning, but there was a blizzard in town. There was like 18 inches of snow that day, and so the person who was going to give that talk couldn't make it, but it was the machine learning. It was in a box. I thought, oh, this is great. I'm just going to walk. I can wing this. This will be fine. You know, again, from this, I walked in. There's 100 people in the room, the people standing at the door, like, oh, boy. But one of the people who was kind of on his way by was somebody who's come to our GDG. I was like, I'm going to go give this talk on machine learning. And he says, oh, you know what, I've been doing a presentation like that for my company. Do you want me to come with? Yes. And so he came with and nailed it. It was one of the best presentations I've seen in ages. And so that, you know, again, being open, being willing to not know everything, but also including people who definitely will know. All right, I think that's 2 minutes. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.